Hello and welcome to Sound and Vision, episode 24. And this one is the first of our music profiles. I, as always, am your host, Ian James, and again I am joined by the brilliant and beautiful and grinning like a Cheshire cat, Miss Hope Wade.
Hello. Why am I grinning?
I don't know, it's just a little look I got.
Favorite subjects, I think.
It is. And as I said, this is a music subject, our first, hopefully the first of many. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, since we're big music fans, but like I've said before, music is so personal, and what some people love, a lot of people hate, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure, yeah. When we can talk a little bit here about doing this subject, because when we started off with the idea to do this podcast, it was always our dream to meld music and movies, and kind of alternate between doing films and music. But from research and various things that we've done, it just appears to be a little bit more difficult with music for various reasons.
Yeah, and I think because we can't play the songs on most of it, just because for copyright reasons, I think that makes it a little difficult, because if you play a song and then somebody's like, oh yeah, I remember that song, you talk about it. And hopefully we can just project a little bit of the music into the podcast of what we are hoping for. And maybe one day I can find a way to get around that copyright issue. But it's still a personal thing, I think, with everybody, is music. And a lot of people, we try to fit in music into the movies, because a lot of the movies we talk about have great soundtracks, I think. Sure. And so we try to highlight that with it. Like Pretty in Pink has one of the best soundtracks, I think. Yeah,
when you're talking about people like John Hughes and stuff.
Yeah.
The kind of...
even we just did Grease, and that was still, though it's a musical, it's a vital part of the film's ingredients, isn't it? And of course, the films of Martin Scorsese, Ian Ashby, Wes Anderson, all kind of really built around Paul Thomas Anderson, even built around their kind of source music that they use for their movies, other than the scores that are written for the movies. So music is a massive part of a movie. So to do a standalone subject of music is pretty much what we're doing today. And some of our favorite bands.
And this is, as I mentioned, this is episode 24, and this is, for the first subject, Joy Division / New Order.
Yes, I think they both need to come together.
Yes, people need to stop separating them, which we'll discuss.
I know,
why.
because they're so they're fans, they're diehard on Joy Division, like they just will not budge on New Order. And some say, oh, I like some New Order, but Joy Division is like the be all end all of everything. And it's like, well, they made 2 albums, which was very good albums.
I think more importantly as well, there was 4 members of the band. It wasn't the Ian Curtis show. Exactly.
And I think that gets lost because, as much as we love Ian Curtis, writing and on Joy Division and his music, the 3 members brought that band together, like he just sung the music and wrote it, and the lyrics, and the other, there wouldn't be a band without the other members.
Which we're going to try and rectify today. Yes. I will say as well on this, because Jason Reed, who I know listens to these, he's kind of said that if we do a music profile, I must do the Beatles.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is a massive subject.
Oh, yeah.
Despite only being together 8 years, is too big. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, for here and now then, this is Joy Division in New Order. So first of all, because I know, not only did we pick this as our first subject, but the simple fact that they're incredibly well-liked groups that have massive following, cult or any other following for that matter. And I know you're a really big fan of New Order.
Yes.
Your favourite group.
Yeah, one of my favourite groups.
It's official, Hope's favourite group of all time. So, just first of all, do you remember, being really honest, do you remember hearing Joy Division or New Order first?
New Order.
Yeah.
Because I was at the time when Pretty in Pink came out. I was probably 11 when that movie came out, and I saw it, and it was all over the radio. OMD, I mean, that soundtrack is just amazing. It had OMD, Psychedelic Furs, Echo and the Bunnymen, and of course New Order. Thieves Like Us is still a great song. So it just, that is where I think I fell in love. I got out of my glam rock stage after that because I was so like, I was in my glam, or like in my hair band, I should say, the hair band.
Hair metal.
80s hair metal. And, you know, growing up in the 80s, that's what we were, you know, I still had my 80s pop music that I was loving, you know, Cyndi Lauper, Madonna and all that. And then the hair
so do you think this
New
was
Order right there, I was gone. I was a goner.
Do you think this is like New Order then were a gateway into alternative music for you?
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
Even before The Cure, before any of that, I was exposed to, because, you know, I was only 12, like when I first heard it. So I was exposed to it at that age. That's when I started getting into my gothy, I guess, music, you know, listen to more of The Cure and Susie and Depeche Mode and all that stuff. So I was, you know, that's what turned me, was New Order.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I said, it makes perfect sense. Where along the line then, where did you kind of discover that they were a group created from the ashes of...
not until later. I think probably not until I was in high school, maybe. Okay. Because we didn't have the internet then. So, I mean, if I probably read it in music, maybe in, you know, I was in junior high school, somewhere like that.
So books, magazines, music papers, yeah.
Yeah, music magazines were the thing back then.
Yeah.
So it's probably, I found out through there that they were, the other three members went on and did New Order. Yeah. Which I didn't know, you know. When I think I started listening to Joy Division when I was like 13, 14. So that came a couple years later.
Did that come as a surprise? Was it a surprise that you're in a totally different...
Yeah, but then
or is it that different? I mean,
it's not, because when you go and listen to it, like, you know, Peter Hook still have that same, you know, they still have that same sound, I think, just a little bit different. Bernard took it to a different level, I think.
Yeah.
Which I adore him. I still adore him. And it's my dream to be, now that I'm in England, to go and see New Order. I just wish they would come back together, like all of them.
With the original members, yeah.
All of them.
Can I just point out that I did see them in 1998?
I know you did. I'm jealous.
Just to rub it in. Okay.
Who was your first? Was it Joy Division or New Order that you heard first?
New Order.
Yeah.
Just because it was radio friendly, wasn't it?
It was.
And I remember hearing singles on the radio and thinking, oh, this is group from the 80s called New Order. And then I went on a whole... me and my sister we were kind of into music together, and we kind of pushed bands to each other, like you said, pre-internet or anything like that, growing up. Grew up in a very musical house anyway. Music from all over. My two sisters and my dad. So music was always there, but the punk thing was my thing. Yeah. You know, that was something I found for myself. And I had a shared love with my sister then. And then it was kind of through that we discovered, while digging through all those bands, that there was a band called Joy Division, and it was like, oh, it's basically New Order before they become New Order, and that was of interest to me straight away. Being a fan, and I've always been a fan of both. I slightly side towards New Order for reasons I may give later on, but yeah, Joy Division are, you know, the pioneers, I suppose, in some way of that kind of cold wave, new wave kind of thing that they did, which was distinctly theirs, I guess. Just to take the story back then to the beginning, Joy Division were formed, I say formed officially, but they kind of came together in 1976 in Salford, which a lot of people, because they're always known as like a Manchester group, but Salford is a place just slightly outside Manchester, which a lot of people seem to forget this. Okay. But, you know, they're still pushed in with those groups at that time, and being one of the first. And in 1976, Peter Hook and Bernard Sumner, who were friends, went to watch the Sex Pistols, which is this famous selection of concerts that the Sex Pistols did during 1976, and particularly the one in Manchester is said to inspire loads of groups to form. And there's another myth that the Ramones had the same effect, or that, you know, basically Morrissey's seen the Ramones or something, and then, you know, I always wanted to be a pop singer, and there's and all this kind of thing. And I still think it's the Sex Pistols and those gigs from 76. Well, I know Paul Weller would agree, and everyone else who was at those gigs, Eric DeVoto, who started off the first Buzzcocks and stuff. So that gig in Manchester inspired friends Hook and Sumner, and it inspired Peter Hook to go and buy a bass guitar.
Oh, nice.
So he didn't start learning until he was 20, which...
There's hope for anybody. There's hope for you.
I always kind of think that you should be playing in your teens. But okay.
No, it's never too late.
Yeah.
What's that song? Dreams never end.
Yeah. Well, this would never began. In this room. Okay. So.
Oh God. Doom and gloom here.
Yeah, we're perfect for the subject. So yeah, they formed a band, hooked up with Ian Curtis, who would join them. He was also present at that Sex Pistols gig, but kind of met them later, to form a band inspired by punk. And I think Ian Curtis brought the first whole kind of influences to the other two then, was telling them about things, literature and stuff that he was reading and bands he was, since he was very, I mean, Ian Curtis is just very kind of, I can imagine being very difficult to be around.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, he was a bit of a one-off really. And so, yeah.
Kind of like Morrissey, I would assume.
Possibly. But yeah, so he formed with Hook and Sumner, kind of basically before they were known as Joy Division, and they were originally called Warsaw, which came from a David Bowie track, which was an instrumental David Bowie track from the Heroes album, probably because of their shared love of Bowie, and also this whole German thing that Ian Curtis seemed to be interested in. I know we were like literature of Franz Kafka and various German kind of influences that he had, in terms of not just literature but in music as well, because I know he's a big fan of Neo in craft work and stuff. Yeah,
which he had that same look of the pants and the shirts, the working kind of
factory work, kind of industrial German. Like you said, he kind of adapted that whole kind of persona, that kind of working between machinery and people, which shaped the original Joy Division. And I must also add that Stephen Morris was the last member to join, by the way.
Oh, okay.
So they had a couple of drummers before him, which I'm sure people know. And then they changed the name to Joy Division because that was suggested by Ian Curtis from a book he was reading called House of Dolls, which is a 1955 book. And then Joy Division being the concentration camp that the German soldiers would go, kind of a brothel then.
Yes.
You know, a German brothel. So yeah, that's basically where the name of the band came from. And then that led them to go and record, when they finally gathered enough money in 1978 to do their first EP, which they self-produced themselves, which is an Ideal for Living, which is the first recording of Joy Division, which had a Nazi kind of, I feel like Hitler cover or something. I'm trying to draw them from memory here because, like, I mean, we don't kind of research these whole things, trying to draw memory of what that single cover looked like now, which again falls in with what they were doing at that point, and the kind of image that they were putting out there, which kind of distanced them from critics who were at the time then, who were trying to discover this band and seeing them as fascists and stuff, which I kind of must have made it very difficult to kind of make a breakthrough with that kind of iconography for your sleeves and your band name and stuff. And things changed for this band when they did, they famously did a gig up in Manchester. I think that, if I remember correctly now, Tony Wilson, who was TV personality who hosted the So It Goes show in Manchester, was English journalist then. He was present, and I think Rob Gretton, he was really key to the success of both of these bands, in my opinion, was DJing at the club that night, and they got into an alteration with what we now know as Joy Division, and an argument with Ian Curtis saying that we should have featured us on your show, you should put us on your show. And I think Tony Wilson was quite taken back by that, and he said, well, I'll put you on my next show then if you're good enough, kind of thing. And Gretton, who was overhearing this conversation, was like, I like these guys, they're quite spunky, he got like a kind of desire then to be better. Decided to manage him pretty much that night. He said, I'll take you on and I'll manage you, which is perfect for them, because I can't stress how much Gretton did for that band. And obviously Tony Wilson kind of gave him a real start as well, to give him a shot at a kind of appearance on his show, kind of help financially set up where they were going from there onwards. So that was the kind of birth of Joy Division. So within the meeting of those certain people, and also Martin Hannett, the record producer, who's majorly key again to this band, in my opinion, although there's a interesting debate on, I think Peter Hook and Bernard Sumner was never, from what I've read, and this is all hearsay, so this is not fact, but they always were not pleased with what he produced on those records. They always said it didn't sound like what they wanted to originally do, which is a massive thing there, because Martin Hannett is one of the most respected music producers, probably of all time. So to disagree with what he has to say, or his productions, because I know big fans of these groups, your friend included, Eve, who you mentioned here, is a big fan of these bands.
Yes.
I remember her saying, they're Martin Hannett, what a fantastic producer and stuff. And yeah, I totally agree myself, but Bernard Sumner and Hooky were always like, oh no, he got it so wrong, and he kind of softened our sound or whatever. Which that makes an interesting debate. Maybe that's just musicians playing up, I don't know. So when they finally got to recording their first album, Unknown Pleasures, which is now obviously considered stone cold classic from 1979, produced by Martin Hannett, which I think, as far as I know, made number 5 in the charts. I mean, it charted anyway, high for the album. I think they only released like 3 singles in there. I mean, they were only together like, what, 2.5 years?
Yeah.
So it wasn't time to achieve so much, which again is really of interest to me, just for the simple fact that they're such a loved, respected, admired group, and yet their recorded output is so little. I mean, 2 albums and an EP and a handful of singles, that's all it was.
There's good songs though. I mean, great music.
Yeah, it's just interesting to think someone with such little output is so like really highly regarded. Okay, so Unknown Pleasures become this cult autumn from 79, which we now know is this classic album, including the Peter Saville artwork for it, which is you'll see on a million mugs and t-shirts everywhere now.
Yeah,
kind of
I know, it's even
bizarre.
on tennis shoes and everything.
Which is really bizarre. Which is cool. I mean, I wanted to put a shout out for Peter Saville as well. He was one of my favourite graphic designers ever. Just fantastic work that he did for Factory Records, which is the record label owned by Tony Wilson, which eventually signed Joy Division, and of course is responsible for New Order and Durutti Column and all these, and the Certain Ratio and all these bands, early Happy Mondays and stuff. So it's like a really credible record label that has it was a very iconic record label, and Peter Saville designed a lot of the sleeves and artwork for that label. And I just want to mention this because this is totally off the subject for a second, but it always makes me laugh, is that there's an album by the Durutti Column, and I'm not sure which album of theirs it is, which for anyone who doesn't know is a man from Manchester built around Vinnie Riley. He basically is Durutti Column. It's just him really, and fantastic guitar player that he is. Anyway, he made this album, and the sleeve design was, because obviously back in vinyl days, pre-cassette, the sleeve for it was made of sandpaper, a sandpaper sleeve. So basically you would put that album in among the other ones, and it was scratched out on purpose. It's like a punk rock idea, like it would rep the other ones. So basically, by the time you stuck it anywhere you can in your record collection, this would be the only record that you've got left to play. Which I always thought that was a really gimmicky but funny idea.
No, I would be angry.
You don't know that sandpaper sleeve?
No.
Okay.
I'll pass.
I thought it was great. I love gimmicky sleeves like that back in the day.
But it's gonna ruin your other stuff.
I know, but it's just so funny.
No.
It's punk rock.
No, not really. It's dumbass. It's jackassery for me.
I'm not going to argue with Peter Saville. Okay, so that album then, which then kind of shaped what we think of them sounding like now, obviously, built on those influences of Ian Curtis, which it do include The Doors. He was a big Jim Morrison fan. Also Iggy Pop, Iggy and the Stooges, Dave Bowie, Kraftwerk, and I think those influences kind of come from, but they kind of shape their own sound out of those influences, because I think they were very distinct. Joy Division had a very distinct sound, which is not really like anybody else. I have to give them credit for that. A little bit rough around the edges, but that adds to the appeal of it. And so just taking all those kind of early Roxy music, just taking those kind of ideas and forming their own thing, which they were, like I said, but it's just it was so short-lived. And of course in 1980, the following year, Martin Hannett produced again the follow-up Closer, which was the last recorded work of certainly of Ian Curtis then, and then of Joy Division as a group, which I know to this day is considered better than Unknown Pleasures. How do you feel about that?
I love it. I do. I think I like a lot of songs on Closer.
Is it a better album though?
Don't put me in this position. I think it may be. You know what? Second time around is always good. Because first time you're just kind of starting out, second album it just gets better, just like a movie sometimes. Sometimes the first one isn't as good, and then, or a season I should say, not a movie. A season of a television show is always starting out kind of rough, and then second season it tightens up.
But sometimes you can peak too soon as well. There's certain bands that have put everything into a first album and then just had nothing to go for with a second album.
Yeah.
And you kind of go, oh, they made such a good first album.
Yeah, sometimes it could be. Sometimes. But I did like Closer. I like a lot of songs on Closer.
Yeah. I also remember reading once, as a bit of trivia for some people, that George Michael named it as like his favourite album of all time.
Really?
Which the music and the kind of idea has no bearing on George Michael's musical career whatsoever. But I don't know, maybe, he had a dark sort of persona that he kept away from the public, so I don't know. But I always remember finding that really interesting, why someone like that would pick that as an album.
Yeah. And
as I mentioned, that was the final album, obviously because of Ian Curtis sadly suffering from depression, committing suicide during that year then. And after his death, Love Will Tear Us Apart was released as a single, so it's not on that album, which a lot of people I don't know, but which is the kind of song there which kind of cements a reputation is the one song I suppose everyone
I know.
It's like the only song, which is really annoying that most people remember it. Yet the words "Love Will Tear Us Apart" were on Ian Curtis's tombstone, or his plaque of death. Then those kind of words are on that. I mean, because we could sit and talk about his whole personal life here, but but I mean,
it's just not.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, I could do a whole spiel on that. Touching from a Distance, the book by Deborah Curtis, which I think is for me personally then is the be end all of what you need to know, right?
Yeah.
Because I know there's films made on this subject. There's Control, then I should say, which was made on the subject, which was directed by Anton Corbijn. I can never say his name. He's a Dutch photographer or something. But it's funny because his photographs of the band from the day when they were, being interviewed by music magazines and music press and stuff, and the black and white iconography of those photos. It's funny now because that's there we see that band. Yeah. Because of the famous black and white photographs by him. So when he got to finally go in, he directed music videos as well. But when he finally directed Control, the movie, then it just seemed like a perfect person to direct that movie because he was the one who took those original photographs, and because of that, he shot the movie in black and white. Yes. Which because in our somewhere in our subconscious I just think of Joy Division existing in a black and white world. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's like Manchester during 1978, 79 was black and white. Yeah. And because dark, of those photos.
Kind of world. Those pictures were even dark, like because they were always sitting in like a basement. It looked like, or
or a tunnel, or a bridge, or
some kind of abandoned building. They were always in. So that's what you think of.
Yeah, and he was the perfect guy to shoot that movie. I think it was 2009 Control. I forget now. But he had shot music videos for Echo and the Bunnymen, U2, Depeche Mode. So he was very much of that scene anyway. He's the perfect guy to direct the movie.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it. It was a good movie.
Yeah, but what I was trying to say is it misses so much of
from the book,
which is the source material for the movie. And I know Deborah Curtis, who obviously Ian's widow, yes, although they were kind of going for a divorce at the time that he died, or setting, the wheels were in motion for a divorce.
And he was still so young, wasn't he? He was only 23, wasn't
23, yeah.
Jeez, it's just so young to be married and going through divorce, and it happens, doesn't it? Yeah.
So yeah, basically what I wanted to say is that even though it's based on her book and she give it her blessing, the movie, it does miss so many details from that book which are very crucial, in my opinion. And it's almost, all I want to say about this is it almost feels like they wanted to kind of soften the blow of what Ian Curtis was. It's like they don't want to destroy the myth that the fans who wear the t-shirts and put up the posters have got about him. And I think the film just skirts around a few of the edges to keep him iconic. Yeah. When, everyone's got faults. And I just think the book touches more on those kind of things. And I don't think you got the whole story from the movie. And I don't want to say any more than that, really, because that is, again, is a whole different debate. And it is a fantastically well-made movie, but the book is so much better, is what I'm trying to say. And the reasons for what he did and the reasons behind those are 100% more better, closely looked at in the book. So my tip to anyone, I'm sure if you're a Joy Division fan, you definitely would have already read it. But if you haven't, Touching by a Distance by Deborah Curtis is a good place to pick up to understand what was going on in his personal life to influence some of those decisions. But what I will say is that when he did commit suicide at the family home that he went back to the evening on the night before, I think they were due to go on an American tour. They were just on the crest of first going to America, which is something I know scared Ian Curtis. Had a real thing about flying and stuff. He even suggested to the record label that they take a boat to America so he didn't have to get on a plane. So unfortunately for the other guys, they were starting to make that kind of breakthrough, which was cemented by the Love Will Tear Us Apart single that came out later in the year. So I felt sorry for those guys, really. Do you know what I mean? They formed this band among friends. We're just getting somewhere. And then the pivotal kind of frontman and co-songwriter does that and kind of jeopardizes the rest of them. Yeah, there's a bit of but there's mixed feelings on this because Peter Hook, it was an incredible character. Apparently,
you look very hooky today, I say.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to say about that. Maybe I need a shave, or maybe that I look 10 years older than I actually am, which is what I think of Peter Hook. Just the simple fact that he apparently, when he was told that Ian Curtis had died, so the myth goes. I'm not even sure if he's owned up to this or not. Someone said that he was eating like a Sunday roast or something, and someone rang him up and said, and told him on the phone, and he kind of went, "Yep, okay." Put the phone down, sat back down, carried on eating his dinner. And someone said, "What was that about?" He said, "Ian Curtis, stupid sod, killed himself. Just carried on eating." Peter Hook, Mr. Heartless.
Allegedly.
No, I think it's a true one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Strange guy completely. But Bernard Sumner was definitely the last guy from the band to talk to him. And didn't they? I mean, again, I want to touch on this because didn't they do like a hypnosis session, or Bernard Sumner did a hypnosis session with just him and Ian Curtis, and they recorded, and he was saying stuff like he'd lived a former life.
Yeah.
And it was on a tape recorder.
I think so.
And he was just saying random stuff.
Yeah, I think I vaguely remember something like that.
Which is it's just a morbid side of me coming out now. So that's very interesting. So unfortunately for the other three, it was going to pick up the pieces in 1980 into 81, where they made a pact as a group when they started out, just simply saying that if one member ever left the band for whatever reason, that they would disband with the band name and everything, which is exactly what they did. But Rob Gretton, as I mentioned earlier on, he was their manager, and a real pivotal point of pushing this group on, and was very supportive to Deborah Curtis while Ian was busy having his affairs and messing around, even though he had a child at home. Rob Gretton was supplying money for Deborah, was looking after him, doing the dad bit, and he hated all the lying because Ian Curtis was, "Oh, lie to her for me, don't tell her this, don't tell her that," and Gretton was like, "I ain't doing that, you know what I mean, it's your family." And Gretton still looked after them years after Ian died. He'd still send them money and stuff.
Yeah.
So he was a good top guy, you know, and most people who ever know him said he was very straight talking and that. He was an all round good guy. So yeah, he kind of said to the other guys, you know, let's keep going, you know, we can work through this kind of thing, which is just, it's almost shocking to think that any band would survive that. So they did Soldier on, the three of them. And then they had to decide one of them had to sing. So apparently, so the rumour goes that they took it in turns singing, and none of them were particularly that good. Bernard Sumner was the only one that had an half-decent voice.
Yeah.
But the trouble is he couldn't play guitar and sing at the same time.
Yeah.
Apparently it was so say. And so it became decided that he would sing. And then they were joined by Stephen Morris's girlfriend at that time, Gillian Gilbert, who then forms what we now know as New Order. She was already playing in an all-girl punk band.
Oh, really?
And they already knew Joy Division. Apparently, they often, because they were recording in the place next to them when they were Joy Division, they would often get lifts back from Peter Hook, whoever was driving, would give them a lift back.
Yeah.
And would tell them that they have to buy the Joy Division singles for a lift. That's how the myth goes. And around about that time, she started seeing Stephen, the drummer, and they got together. And
still married today?
Yes, married now, and everything, kids and all sorts. The whole caboodle.
Yeah.
Which is one of rock music's sweet stories. Yeah. And I love them. I love them as a couple. I think they're great. And I'm sure they had a side project somewhere in the late 80s.
Did they?
Yeah, because Bernard Sumner had obviously joined up with Johnny Marr from the Smiths, and they formed Electronic. And you'll love this. I'm pretty damn sure that Gillian Gilbert and Stephen Morris had a side project called The Other Two. Meaning that like the two, you don't know their names.
Yeah. Oh, I thought the
other two.
Yeah, no, I thought she was great in New Order.
Yeah, mega cool. Yeah, because she was like the girl next door, and that's what added to the appeal of it. Do you know what I mean? I really like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the name New Order came from a newspaper article apparently, which Rob Gretton was reading. I think Gretton gave him the name New Order, and there's a whole myth that it was like, oh, New Order was another like German type thing on Joy Division and into the New Order, which is absolute rubbish. But that's the rumor that's always been put out there, but apparently not. Confirmed by Rob Gretton that it was taken from a article. So yeah, for them then it was picking up what was left of the demos from Joy Division, Semeroni, which was a Joy Division track and had been aired live at a few gigs but hadn't been properly recorded. But a bootleg of that turns up on Still, which was a compilation of Joy Division recordings that featured B-sides and stuff, which is almost like Factory Records trying to cash in on their main asset dying, sadly. But Joy Division picked it up, re-recorded it with Bernard Sumner on vocals. And so the first thing you say about New Order is it came out in 1981 off the back of the Semeroni single then with their first album, Movement, which I believe reached 30 in the album charts. So it was your first album, first established, coming out only a year after Ian's death.
I know a lot of people got angry about that they moved on, thought it was horrible of them to move on so quickly, but what are they supposed to do?
Exactly. And that's the attitude apparently I've read from the band, that they said.
What were they supposed to do? That was their life that they were building also. And even though I'm sure it was hard for them to lose, a friend and a partner, they had to keep going, just like anybody does. You have to keep going. And I think it was bad of people to, make them feel bad for moving on so quickly, I think,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And this will bring us into the topic of conversation that we discussed right at the top of the show. That with the first album, which didn't chart that highly, and I mean, I'll be really honest, even as a New Order fan, for me, it's a distinctly average album, and it still feels like a Joy Division album.
It does. It sounds like Joy Division.
Yeah, because I think they were still trying to find their own kind of thing, but they didn't want to alienate the audience that they kind of already had, and I understand why they would do that.
I think it was a perfect transition album into
but you get
what comes.
But you get a lot of Joy Division fans who say that's the only New Order album I like.
I know it is, isn't it?
And I think, what's that about? It's more Joy Division, isn't it?
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say it now. I don't think, as a lyricist, I don't think Burn All Summer was ever up to Ian Curtis as a lyricist, and I'll give Ian Curtis good credit for that point as a lyricist. I don't think any of those guys can match him as a lyricist. But musically, which is what we should concentrate on, absolutely spot on. Like, I'm going to borrow a word from him, and I hate the fact that do you know what I mean? That everyone hated it after Ian Curtis. Just really kind of annoys me.
Yeah, I love New Order.
Yeah,
and their second album's my favorite.
Power Corruption Lies,
yes.
which is the album that they released in 1983, and it kind of breaks the band to a degree and gives the band its first. I think that one reached number 4.
Oh, okay.
So it's from a couple of years previous. You're in a top 5 band now.
Yeah. And
I think it was the first time that Bernard Sumner was allowed to sing as himself, like allowed to just express his own voice and not try and be Ian Curtis. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's their first great album, and it is a fantastic album. We should add.
Doesn't Peter Hook sing on Movement? Isn't there one song on there that he does? Or am I thinking of something else?
No, I don't think...
I think he might be, but I could be wrong.
No, I think he's the only person to put a vocal on it in those albums other than Burn All Summer. I know Gillian does a few bits of backing vocal, and I think he might whisper a few lines here and there, but I don't think anyone else really gets in on it. But Paradise Corruption is...
perfection.
Yeah, and I need to add as well, it's the first album, right, that is actually produced by the band themselves. So Martin Annett did Movement.
Oh, we'll see. There
so
you
he's
go.
still actually Joy Division producer. So the Joy Division links were all there. Like, for me, really, as when I would say to anyone who's kind of discovering New Order for the first time, well, I don't know why, but if you are, that's the place to start for me. I'd forget Movement to a degree. I know it sounds really mean, but if you want to kind of understand what New Order, I think we start. That's where you start. Because it's the first album, like I said, they produced themselves. Martin Annett was out the picture by this point now, which I always, like I said, Hook and Sumner always had a thing about that they, I don't know, I don't think they ever really agreed with those earlier recordings as much. I think Ian Curtis had more faith in it than they did. But anyway, and then I mean, before we keep going with the New Order story, you do get those kind of fans of Joy Division as well who kind of say, it's just a completely different thing, it's a completely new thing. I mean, and what's your feelings on that? I mean, do you think that if Joy Division had carried on, it would have kind of resembled New Order anyway? Or do you just think it would have been something? Well, because what the hell would it have been?
Well, if they would have left that producer behind, obviously they sounded different after.
But Closer, say they were making that album after Closer, but what would they have sounded like?
I think, as time goes on, I think they would have transitioned into more electronic, New Order,
because you can
new wave.
Because you can hear elements in Closer that we're going to become, basically what New Order did become. Songs such as Isolation, 24 Hours. There's just things on there. There's just elements of that album that sound like the electronic at heart and soul. There's just things on there that I think it was going that direction. Yeah,
definitely. And because music was evolving
exactly
at that time.
Yeah.
And so I think they would have definitely sounded different.
Whether they would have been that full on pop saying that New Order did become home, and that's debatable. But it certainly would have been going that way.
I know, I can't see Ian Curtis being poppy.
No.
He probably would have dropped out by then.
Yeah, maybe. Write some book or something. So Power Corruption Lies is the greatest starting point, and it is an album that came out in 1983, did very well, and has the blueprint on that, doesn't it? There's a track on that album, I remember, because it's a while since I listened to it, that is basically the bare bones of Blue Monday, which is the big single that broke him in this country, and I think was the biggest selling 12-inch single in the UK for years. Is it 5/8? There's like a
5/8/6.
Yeah, which is basically Blue Monday.
Yeah.
Before Blue Monday.
Yeah.
So I mean, that and Temptation and a couple of singles from that year that were really pushing that band to become something so far removed from Joy Division, I think. And it was also the year 1982 then the Hacienda nightclub opened up, which was funded by New Order Factory Records, which, and the only reason I mention it is because I think it's got a big bearing that club culture that creeped into music in sort of the early 82, 83 then, had a big impact on where New Order would finally go with their sound. Because I remember them saying, or I remember Peter Hook saying that they toured America, a lot of clubs in like New York and stuff, where they were like kind of soaking up club culture and what was happening in these clubs. And so you've almost got that precursor to like the whole ecstasy, late 80s, early 90s thing. It was already starting after they finished Power Corruption Lies, and with having their own nightclub, as I mentioned, in Manchester, which takes them into their next album, Low Life and Brotherhood, which is their two mid-80s albums that really are soaking up the dance culture. And I think this is maybe then where the pure Joy Division fans drop off, because they really didn't want them to do that. But for me, it's the most logical thing for them to do, is to kind of embrace a culture and you know, and kind of incorporate that in their own sound. And again, these are all self-produced albums. I mean, I keep adding, New Order were producing all their own albums at this point. And there's lots of different mixes, isn't there, of these singles that they put out, which were all collected for the 1987 compilation Substance.
I love that album.
Which is fantastic, which was my introduction to New Order.
I loved it. It was like my high school, it had all the good songs on there, you know?
Well, I don't think singles, didn't it, as you know them. And it was always the place I kind of came in on it, and it was like, and there was little things like Everything's Gone Green, which I forgot, you know, we kind of forget if it wasn't for that compilation. So
Bizarre Love Triangle, Ceremony was one of my favorite songs, which was actually a Joy Division song. And everybody's like, oh, I like Joy Division better. It doesn't matter. I like New Order's better version. But, you know, that's my opinion.
And so this commercial streak opened up, which, you know, as we mentioned, came together with Substance, and the single that went with that album then was True Faith, which is one of the highest selling and probably most played and probably most recognised New Order songs, definitely in this country. Which accompanied the album in 1987 then. And just a little bit of trivia on this one is the B-side to that single, I should say, was 1963.
I love that song.
Which I prefer to True Faith. Would it have the same commercial appeal? No. But it's just a great B-side. I just wanted to mention that because I think I just love that song, and no one ever mentions it.
I know. I have to mention that we stream Detroit DJ that plays, you know, all of our favorite music, and that was a song that she played yesterday on the top of her list. Christina Rocks, I think, is her website, ChristinaRocks.com, and Time Warp with Christina is just good. I have to give a shout out to her,
especially if you like this kind of music.
If you like this kind of music, you have to listen to her. And that was the top of the show, was 1963, and it's
but it was just weird because we were talking about doing this show before we listened to it, weren't we? And then weirdly that song was prophetic that it came out as a kind of say that then we kind of made the decision to do this.
Definitely.
So right under the success of those big singles and the one-off single from 1987, which is Touched by the Hand of God, which is a great air metal homage video. Which I only seen recently for the first time the other day. I think you were showing me, where they were kind of imitating, like they were Van Halen or something for the video, which is just bizarre. It was directed by Catherine Bigelow as well, by the way, who's the first woman to win the Oscar for Best Picture for The Hurt Locker. And right about that time would have done Near Dark and stuff. It's just funny thinking that she would have directed that video, but they were spending so much time in America at that point because, like I said, New Order have a big following in America, as Hope will tell you. To the point where, like, Peter Rook had a side kind of thing going on at that point. He was DJing clubs, which he said was fantastic. And I always remember this quote of him just saying that the amount of American people that would come up to him while he was DJing and just constantly request 80s English music. He just said it was just incredible. He said the guys are obsessed in America. You're just obsessed with English music.
And it's funny because when we do listen to that streaming show, you're like, oh, it's all English music. And it's like, well, yeah, because that's what we love is.
I know. I think even Peter Rook was just like, really? Do you love us that much?
Yeah, we do. I don't know why, but you guys have great music, just like Americans have great movies, and the English have great music.
And we also have some great movies too.
Not as much as America. Come on, we got Hollywood here. Come on.
I don't care.
Just accept it.
No, you
accept it. Accept it and move on.
So, riding the success of a couple of singles and that album took him into Technique in 1989, which was a really club dance-oriented album. And personally, possibly my favourite New Order album as well, by the way. Just incredibly something that was nothing else to me, you know. And Vanishing Point is on that album, which is like my favourite New Order track.
Yeah.
And also Round and Round and Run, and there's loads of good tracks on that album. I think that's a really standout one. again, self-produced by those. And then it was like the sort of the following year they did, which I showed you this the other day as well, didn't I? The World in Motion. You never knew this existed, did you?
No.
This is when they teamed up with the English football team to do an anthem, which got to number 1, and it's the only number 1 the New Order have ever had in this country.
It's just sad. That's sad.
You
to
loved
me.
it.
No.
You loved it.
Oh, it was awful.
No.
I'll pass. No wonder we didn't hear of it, because we didn't care about that.
Because it was an English thing, and we were good that year. We had a good run at the World Cup
That year, okay.
Okay, well, and last year got to the semis, or the year before. Also, John Barnes, who was English football player, did a rap on that. Mm-hmm. Do you want to hear it?
No.
Okay. And then that was the last kind of activity for a couple of years. But I mean, a number 1 single, you know, top 5 selling albums, and then they did their last album for the classic period, I called it, which was Republic in '93, which is a 4-year gap. And it was because Factory Records had folded at this point, which I should mention, that technically came out in 1989, and by this point all these albums released on Factory. Factory had gone bankrupt principally because of Sean Ryder of the Happy Mondays, who, that story again is a whole podcast all of its own. That the Happy Mondays were recording an album, and they basically held the record label to ransom to release the tape so he could buy drugs, and it went bust. So thanks to Sean Ryder, he killed Factory Records.
Nice.
So when New Order finally got up and running again to make the last album from the first period, which is Republic from '93, they were now on London Records, so a new record label. And it was the first album produced by someone other than the band since Martin on it, it was produced by Stephen Hague, who was a producer I really like. He was most famous work for me possibly being his work for the Pet Shop Boys. So it was given, just give him something different to build on. And I know it's an album that's not loved by a lot of people. I actually think it's pretty good. My feelings on Republic. And I love Regret.
I love Regret,
World in a Day.
I know, there's a few songs on there that's good.
And World, yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the Regret
agree.
video as well, that they were on the set of
Yeah.
Baywatch, which is just utterly ridiculous. And I can imagine that it's that kind of thing now. The fact that the fact that they made a video with David Hasselhoff, the fact that they made a video where they were spoofing air metal bands and laughing at themselves, and that's the kind of thing Joy Division fans still want that. They don't want to laugh. Nothing's funny.
I know, it's all dark and gloom.
That's why they hate New Order, I swear it is.
Doom and gloom.
And that was the last album in '93, before they broke up the first time for various reasons. And then they came back in '98, which is the year I seen them when they came back, and started recording again on a run of tours and albums up until 2007, which they broke up again, and then they regrouped again in 2011, and they're still playing today, even though, as kind of pointed out, it's only Bernard Sumner kind of running the band on his own. And Stephen Morris is still contributing drums. Obviously Julian concentrating on having a family and stuff.
Yeah, and Peter just is off doing his own thing.
Yeah.
Isn't he?
Yeah.
He's just off doing tours on his own.
But playing New Order songs.
Yes.
And I think one of the most recent tours he did, because he did tour around here in Gloucester. He played the Guildhall in Gloucester. And I think he played the whole of the Unknown Pleasures album. And it was just a bit like...
Is it just like, hey, look at me type thing?
Yeah, I was in Joy Division. Remember me? I was in Joy Division.
Also, were the other two were with you that was in Joy Division?
The Peter Hook show.
No, I think they all need just to come together. Jillian needs to, come. She's probably raised a kid by now. She needs to come out and have some fun and regroup, just so I can see them one more time before I die.
For the first time, isn't it?
Yes.
For you?
Or, get together one more time, and so I can see them before I die. Does that sound better?
That's better. So I mean, for me personally, I think they kind of peaked somewhere in the late 80s. But I do like Republic, and I'll defend the album. Whether they still need to be going, like you said, the tours would be nice just to see them, kind of send them off. But 11 albums in all they made as New Order.
Yeah.
Compared to Joy Division's 2. I can imagine the joke being there that Joy Division 2 were brilliant. I can imagine that being the joke.
Oh God, people just are going to praise up and down. And, they should. It's good music, but that music wouldn't have been done without all of them. All the other 3 members of New Order. That wouldn't have been there. You know what I mean?
I just always feel that need to say that.
I know, because it just wouldn't have happened. It's a group that makes it, just like a team that makes the goal. You know what I mean? Like, what do we say all the time? Like, you wouldn't make it without the team. And
there's no I in team.
There's no I in team, and there's no, I and Ian. It wasn't the Ian show. It was all of them. It just makes me mad because I love both. I love all of, New Order and Joy Division, but just it should be a unity, not like, oh my God, fuck New Order. Like, it's all Joy Division,
Yeah.
Like, it's just, there was no other. Well, they had to move on. Sorry.
Yeah, like, I'm going to point out as well, because it's something why you just rant on about that for a second, which is all very valid. I just want to point out as well that some of the names that I kind of shouted out in the show for being very crucial to being part of the success of both the bands. Obviously, TV personality Tony Wilson, who given their first kind of break on TV outset at Factory Records, died of an heart attack in 2007 at the age of 57. Rob Gretton, this guy's fantastic, honestly, the stories and everything, he's brilliant. Sadly passed away in 1999 at the age of 46 from a heart attack. And Martin Hannett, who famously produced the Joy Division records and the first New Order record, died at the age of 42 from an heart attack. So these are all people who died of an heart attack for various reasons, for health reasons, especially with Martin Hannett, because they had a really bad heroin addiction problem.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's just kind of sad that these people have kind of all passed away at such a youngish age. I just wanted to shout that out because they kind of faces that featured in the story, and I forgot to mention them ever again. Sadly the end of those guys. But I mean, Martin Hannett and his production work, whether Summoner and Hook were right, I don't know, but he produced some good music for a magazine.
Yeah. Oh, I love magazines.
And Psychedelic Furs. So I'm sure he knew what he was doing behind the mixing desk.
Of course.
Despite what Hook and Summoner say.
Yeah. No, they probably just wanted to go off and do their own thing.
Maybe.
Maybe they just had a vision. Because they are the artists. They had a vision of something different. When somebody else is telling you, no, we need this sound. It's kind of hard, I think, for the artist to get on board. Not want to do what they want to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just like an actor, I'm sure, is like really wants to do a role, and then their manager's like, no, you shouldn't do that. And then they kick themselves when that becomes number one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, sometimes you got to go with your gut and just veer off and do your thing. Because obviously when they broke off in their second album, it was a hit. Yeah. There you go.
And you see, Hope has said, and to kind of just kind of finish things up here then, because because we're on the subject of music, and I just feel we're selling you can tell the story of these bands, but I'm sure people listening would know this. So what we'll do to kind of give it its own flavour of me and you is to maybe pick some songs that stand out for both groups.
Both groups.
Have you got a particular favourite Joy Division song?
Shadow Play, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
A Means to an End is a good one. Awful Closer, I think that one was. There's a few of them. Atmosphere, of course, is dark. Yeah. That one's dark.
Because they're one of the only 3 singles they released, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I can't think of anything right now, but there's a
Those are kind of ones coming to you pretty quickly. What about New Order?
Oh, God, there's too many. Like I said, it's funny because it is always changing, but, because Ceremony was like my thing back in high school, I was like, oh, I love Ceremony, it's such a good song. And then, it goes on, and then Steve's Like Us, which, was one of the first ones. Yeah, I love that song. Everything's Gone Green, of course, is a great track. I would have to say Leave Me Alone, which kind of fits me.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. Then she wants us to leave her alone.
Age of Consent, Leave Me Alone.
From the same album.
Yeah, 1963. Yeah, I think like that whole album. And the one song, I always forget how to pronounce it. Elijah? Is that
Which is the instrumental.
Yes.
From Low Life. Yeah. Which was written as a tribute to Ian Curtis.
There you go. Yeah. So, that's a great song. And it did make a comeback in Stranger Things, I believe, like the first season.
Oh, did they use it?
Yeah, they used it in the first season. I was like, oh, they're playing New Order, because it's New Order.
And also because you'll be really sad if I end the show and don't tell you this. I'm surprised you haven't told me this. Didn't somebody famously wear a New Order t-shirt in a program?
How can I not plug my favorite show of all time, 90210? But yeah, David Silver, before he came, he was really Vanilla Ice disguised as a New Order fan.
Sorry, I had to squeeze that in because I knew you'd be guessing if we didn't mention it.
I know, because I told you, I was like, in the first season, they were trying to push him as this hip, teenager of the time, and he wore his New Order shirt. And how many episodes have we watched in the first season? And he wore it faithfully. And then, he just busted out and became his Vanilla Ice. It was
almost like I can't wear this anymore.
No,
this is so not me. I need to come out.
He brought himself out. He came out, and he came out, in the ice way that he was.
Okay. To end that on a funny note there, to end this first music profile, which it is what it is. Whether you're a Joy Division fan or a New Order fan, or, if you're really sensible and you like both of them, which you should, I hope that we've done maybe both bands a little bit of justice, or just kind of brought back a few songs that you may have forgotten about, or an album you may have forgotten about, or even chucked in a little bit of trivia you might not have known. I hope that somewhere during this last hour there's something.
Yeah, and have love for both bands.
Yeah,
because
that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Not just one, but you should appreciate both, because without the one, there wouldn't be the other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Completely.
So just love them as what they are, and they're both equally good.
And important.
And important in music history, I think.
Yeah.
I think they lended a huge amount of tracks and music to the world in the time that they've been playing. Even the 2 albums that they had.
So.
And the 5 or how many?
11.
11
albums.
Jeez, they need to come back. Please come back.
But okay, as of episode 24, Joy Division, New Order, that's pretty much it for us. If there's anything anyone would like to add or say or comment, please do.
Yeah, you can join us on Facebook at Sound and Vision. We have 2 pages on there, and we have an Instagram site.
Yeah, so
and we're on Tumblr. You know, you can always join in the fun.
So there's plenty of places to come and slag us off if you feel like it.
Tell us we're wrong. Tell us you love someone more.
Yeah.
I don't care. Just come.
Yeah, exactly.
Just come visit. Come hang out with us.
And on that note, until we meet again and discuss another great subject, this is Ian James saying goodbye.
And this is Hope saying goodbye.
Goodbye.